What's going on, game players? How are you, brothers and sisters, doing? Guys, ladies and gentlemen, I have a very special guest in the building. Let me tell you, this guy right here, me and this guy, we have such a history together. When I was telling you guys that I was into music as one of my hobbies, me and this brother right here, we used to exchange CDs back in the day. This brother was so fly with his CDs, with his beats. He was the first dude I knew that had burnt images on his discs. This brother was on another level. Me and this guy, we have talked about gaming for many, many years. He's been a dear friend of mine, a person who had supported my vision of the Analog Circle podcast before it was even a thing, before I even had a logo, before I even knew what the format was gonna be. You guys may have heard me mention the name AB on the show over the last couple of weeks, and he is here. AB, what is going on, brother?
My man, Key. man, it's a privilege and an honor, man. And before I even go any further, since you wanted to bring up the past with the music, the other part of that story is that the reason why I even went along with it and continued with the music was because of Kiaun. So he left that part of it out, but he is actually a huge reason why I continue with the music. And so, yeah, we go back many, many years, man. I'm just happy to be here, happy to see the podcast growing. So, man, what's up, everybody? To the gamers out there, I just want to say hello.
Yes, indeed, man. It is, like I said, brother, it is an absolute pleasure, and it's an honor for me, too, man, to have you on to talk about this gaming culture. I mean, stuff that we have talked about for years, just regular, man, and just to have you on here, it's just great to see everything come full circle, brother.
Absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely, man.
Yes, indeed, man. Now, before we get started, AB, I got to ask you about your gaming credentials, brother, your street cred when it comes to this gaming culture, brother. Let me ask you, AB, what was your first console, man? Because for me, I'm old school. I started back on the Atari 2600 back when it was made of wood grain, brother, trying to be like furniture. So for you, AB, what was your first console that you started out with, man?
Man, I'm going back there with the Atari, man. I had with the pole position. You already know. Had the pole position. I had the Sega Master System. You already know how that go, man. And then, I mean, you go from that to Nintendo with one of my all-time favorites, Skate or Die.
Oh, man.
Blaze Steel. We can go to Blaze Steel. We can go to Double Dribble.
So you was out here. You was active, brother.
We had to go all the way there. So, there's a lot of gaming history, man. Was a huge lover of Sega. So I was the guy back in the day that had the 10 feet tall system with the Sega Genesis that sat on top of the Sega CD. They had the Sega 32X on top of that, So it was like a weight system.
That joker was heavy, wasn't it? Absolutely, brother. Now I gotta ask you this. Now, for the listeners, for you guys listening, thank y'all for tuning in. And by the way, if you want to chime in and be a part of the conversation, you guys know you can do it two different ways. You can either call in at 443-216-9934 and let your voice, me, be heard, or you can email the show at the Analog Circle Podcast at gmail.com. So, AB, now, me and you both know, I'm an Xbox guy, right? I'm an Xbox guy. You're a PlayStation guy, right?
I am, for sure. I'm a Sony guy, man.
I hear you, brother. Now, the thing I want to ask you, AB, is before we get into the topics, man, because this is going to be a pretty PlayStation heavy round table, listeners out there. So, AB, before we get into the three topics that we have, man, what made you into a PlayStation fan, brother? What was that thing that made you say, you know what, this is it. This is what I prefer.
You know what, it was at the time period, just seeing what Sony was bringing to the table. I think in '95 when that PlayStation came out, man, and we started to see uh, 3D gaming really hit. I mean, really strong with stuff like Battle Arena Toshinden. Um, it was just the way in which they presented themselves in the market. And they took it, it was like I don't know, they just took over the market so quickly, and they were really focused on the gamers. They were really focused on pushing things forward. Because, I mean, we relatively were still kind of just merging into the CD
Yeah.
arena. Everything was pretty much cartridge for the most part. And so I just loved what they did from the business side of it, and the controller with the analog sticks. So they were just pushing things forward, and that's what kind of got me into their zone.
I feel you, man. Yeah, I always say that PlayStation, they really made gaming mature. It was like the games that PlayStation was offering, you couldn't get on a Nintendo system. Sega tried to push the envelope a little bit with the Genesis and the Saturn, but PlayStation, they went all out, man. So, it was like the storytelling, Metal Gear,
Absolutely.
being one of the greatest games of all time on that console. They really pushed the gaming, I guess, gaming forward, as it were. So yeah, I can feel you on that for sure, man. Most definitely. But man, AB, listen, brother, we got the intro out the way. This is my man right here. He's certified 100%, but what I want to do, AB, is I want to get into some of this PlayStation news that happened, brother. Some major things
Let's
have
get
happened.
to it, man.
Yes, sir. Some major things happened. Now, first off, this is one thing I forgot to ask you about, AB. Before we actually started recording, what again was your takeaway? Because you're more of a tech guy than me. I'm starting to try to get into it, what all of this stuff means. I mean, it's still, it's not new to me, but it's just trying to, I guess, not figure out what it means, but the seriousness of it. Like the teardown, the PlayStation 5 teardown. A lot of guys that are like very tech heavy, and they enjoy the inner workings of the consoles and stuff. Like me, AB, I've never taken a console apart before. Not really. And I know you said you have, so you really appreciate the engineering that goes into the console. I mean, I do too, but it's different levels. It's like, man, as long as it plays the games at 60 frames per second, 4K or whatever, I'm good. That's great for me. But you actually telling me you had a different appreciation for the engineering of the PlayStation 5. So I just wanted to ask you on the show, what about the PlayStation 5 teardown actually really impressed you and made you say, you know what, Sony, they're innovating here and they're doing things a little different?
Yeah, I mean, the thing with if you look at the comparison between the PlayStation and the Xbox, this is just from my perspective. Nobody has said this. You're not going to find it in writing. But in looking at it, it seems as if Sony went about it where they built the internals and then decided to put the externals around it. Versus the other way around, it seems like Microsoft, they had a box in mind and then they made everything fit inside of it. It's like they put it together the opposite way. So with Sony, man, you look at what they did internally, and it's not just even just from the technical sense. Thinking about it from a gamer's perspective, we've seen over the years where these systems, they wanted to do things to individualize it to the consumer's personality or to the games that they like, and we've seen it on a minor scale. We've seen people doing decals and things like that. But this is the first time we've actually seen the entire shell casing of the system be removable for the purpose of being able to design it. And I mean, you got people who are talking about doing hydro dripping on their console covers. We can imagine the interchangeable console covers that they'll be able to, you can spray paint them if you like. They'll sell some for each individual game, I'm sure, versus before having to buy whole consoles, like you have to buy God of War console or Last of Us console. So, I mean, they really thought about the individuality of the gamer here on a whole new level. But beyond that, I mean, you look at the internals, their cooling system with able to have a fan that's for both sides that big, which means you can slow down the RPM of the fan to make it even quieter. The the heat sink being as massive as if it is, man, it's almost like a chamber, man. So you got that with the liquid metal cooling for the CPU, the internal embedded on the motherboard SSD with that controller. That took 2 years just to R&D on that, man. So they put quite a bit of time and energy on the internals, and then being able to put the external casing together the way they did, and having the HDMI 2.1, USB-C. They did a lot, man.
Yeah, they did. They definitely did. Man, for me, when I saw the teardown, AB, you know me, brother. We had talked about that teardown before, and I was like, man, that was whack.
Right. Right.
But it was only because I wanted to see benchmarks and I wanted to see, certain games running. But, to be fair, you did say, well, Keys, I mean, it was a teardown, brother. He wasn't making benchmarks, so
right.
I kind of had to reassess things. And I said, for what it was, I thought it was decent, man. It's just, everybody is just hungry just to see more at this point. Everybody wants to see more. But yeah, I just wanted to get your input on that, AB, and I appreciate that, brother. And the panels, that's gonna be dope. They were showing this Spider-Man concept where they had the panels. They were like black and red. I mean, the joint looked amazing. It looked absolutely great. So if they do go that route, who did it before they did though? It was Microsoft. Xbox,
True.
with the faceplate, with the faceplates back in the day. So, man, you Sony guys, y'all can thank Microsoft for that.
Y'all started it. Y'all definitely, yeah. Y'all definitely your hand, dip your toe in the water.
Yeah, man, I gotta throw a shot there every once in a while, AB, man. But man, now listen, okay, so this week, man, matter of fact, how about we start with okay, Jim Ryan. Good grief. Jim Ryan has, he said quite a few things. He said that, Xbox, not all access, not that, but, the model, what is it? AB, Xbox, not the X Cloud, but the other.
The Game Pass?
Yeah, thank you, brother. I had a brain, freeze right there, brother.
Right.
Yeah. He said that model is not sustainable on the PlayStation, as far as them spending a lot of money on their games. That kind of model, it can never work. Then Jim Ryan has also said in the past that who cares about, we're going to talk about this, AB, but he did say who cares about backwards compatibility? Nobody's playing old games. I wonder what happened with that, AB. Good gosh.
Right.
And now he is saying, and this article, AB, that I got it from Film Daily, and Jim Ryan, he sat down with this publication called Naver, which is a Korean outlet, and he sat down with them to tell them what his expectations are for how well the PlayStation 5 is going to perform. Now, this is his quote, AB. He said that we think the PlayStation 5 will sell more in its first fiscal year than we sold in the first fiscal year at the time of PlayStation 4's launch. End of quote. Now, this is the thing, AB. During that fiscal launch of the PlayStation 4, they had actually moved around 7 million units. So according to Jim Ryan, he's saying that the PlayStation 5 is going to crush that. They're going to do more. What are your thoughts on that actually becoming a reality, AB? We understand that the PlayStation 4 has had nothing but amazing success during this console generation. They have been the market leader, hands down. Nobody has come close, maybe Nintendo, but they're still very far in the back when you compare the two. With all of that, with all of this momentum, do you think that the PlayStation 5 having two different price points, $399 and $499, do you think that they will surpass 7 million copies in their first fiscal year?
I think it's possible, man. I think it's very possible. That the only thing that will probably hinder it, in my opinion, is going to be just the manufacturing with the pandemic going on.
Yeah.
Being able to feed the supply. If the manufacturing is able to keep pace and not hinder them. I think they can. The thing about it is like the demand and the hunger for this system is so extremely high right now. I was looking at, since you're talking about what Jim said and just the way in which people are looking toward the system, they had a teardown, as we already know, that came from PlayStation, and they were looking at the views from the point of it being released, which was what, 3 days ago or 4 days ago, something around there. Man, do you know they already have 6.9 million views already?
Wow, already. I didn't know that. Nah, I wasn't aware of that, AB. I didn't know about that stat, brother. That's gigantic. You can't really downplay that. That's huge.
Yeah, and I'm saying with the attention being that high, that it really showed that the demand is there. I don't see why, if you already have views being pretty much what it took a year for the system to sell on the PS4, I don't see why they won't be able to sell that many units if they are available. But if people can get their hands on it, I believe they are going to make that buying decision.
Okay, all right. Now let me I gotta throw a curveball in there, AB.
Okay.
Now what I'm thinking of now, those amounts of views, that is a huge number. It's no way anybody could deny that, especially in the time span that it's happened. But I want to look at it from just a slightly different perspective, AB. If you think about it, the PlayStation 4, they have sold over 100 million units, brother. That's 100 million people that own PlayStation 4s. And out of that 100 million, of course, us, the hardcore, we're usually the guys that are interested in this stuff. And, you know, all of the tech and the breakdowns. Most of the casuals, they just want their 2Ks, their Maddens, or, you know, whatever they're playing, the Call of Duties. But at that high of a number, do you think, AB, that it's still that impressive when you think about the market that they have? 100 million consoles are on the market, and they I'm not saying only like it's a small deal, because it's huge. It's a huge number. But having would you say, I don't want to misquote you, AB, you said 6.9 or 6?
Yeah, 6.9 million views in 3 days.
In 3 days. Now, with that being said, AB, and I know, nobody really knows what's going to happen. I know that analysts have come out and said that they believe that it's going to outsell the Xbox and all of that stuff. And I got a theory on that too, AB. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But sticking with these numbers, and like I said, it does fall in line with, you know, the number that Jim Ryan is looking at. If you look at it from the views, it's like a possibility of that being true. But to me, brother, 100 million. And I hate to sound like a hater. I'm not. I love the PlayStation brand. I genuinely do. They've been amazing this generation. So I don't want it to come off like I'm throwing salt on Sony. Not at all. Right. But at those views, do you think that will translate to 7 million? I understand views are one thing, AB, but coming out of pocket, especially in this climate that we're in, and I understand, Jim Ryan, nobody in the gaming industry could have ever predicted that COVID-19 would have happened. But to gaming's, I guess, to a positive point, gaming has actually gone up. You know, to be fair, the revenue and everything has gone up dramatically. But what I'm saying, AB, is even though, you know, that is true, these consoles, they're not cheap, man. $400 and $500. Do you think that because of the situation at hand, that it will still sell 7+ million in its first fiscal year? Just thinking about everything combined, AB.
I wouldn't be surprised. I think that when it comes to the buying market, when you get to the consumer, one thing we do know is that people have money what they want to have money for.
That's true.
And that's an interesting thing about society. You know, society will claim broke all the time. Then something very expensive will come out, and then all of a sudden everybody gets it. And
that's
like, how did this thing sell so many? We're supposed to be in a financial depression. We're supposed to be this and that, but people always have money. And the thing about it is that's kind of wild. There's two things. So if they sold 100 million copies, Do you think it's possible? This is a question towards you.
Okay.
Do you believe that Sony has the ability to transfer 10% of their customer base to the PlayStation 5? Only 10%.
Oh man, I would have to say absolutely. They've done nothing wrong this generation. They've been almost as perfect as you can be. So I would absolutely give them absolutely 10%, most definitely.
So if you figure 10% off of 100 million, that's 10 million. And that's only 10%. So, and I mean, and I think that at this point in time, if they were to do a survey, of course, I don't know if they've done one yet, but if you were to do a survey on a PlayStation 4 customer base and ask them their satisfaction rating, I'm pretty sure that the rating would be above 50% satisfaction. I think I feel comfortable saying I think 50% of Sony's fan base and customer base would be satisfied. If that's the case, 50% of that and getting 10% of that 50, getting 10% of that 50%, you're still talking about 5 million.
Which isn't really bad, man. That's actually a good number, you know, when you think about it. I mean, 5 million. But still, though, AB, wait a minute, though. Hold on, Jim Ryan once again. And I understand what you're saying, AB. You're just throwing numbers out there just to know, try to make it make sense. But with that being said, well, like you said, at 10%, that would still be 10 million. You know, that would switch over, which. I mean, man, but see, this is the thing, AB. Now, you're only as good as your competition, right?
True
and right now, to be fair, Microsoft is, hey, even though they've made that amazing acquisition with Bethesda, they are still very much so on shaky ground. It's getting better. It's starting to kind of even out a little bit, but they're still unproven when it comes to making those AAA games that people want and people crave and are willing to go out and spend their hard-earned money on. But the thing that I think could possibly now this is a big possibly, AB, is probably not going to happen, but think about this, AB, with the Series S and the Series X. We know that it's two different price points there, too. You have the X, which we both know is $500, and you have the S that is $300. Now, I hate to use parents as an example because, me and you both, man, we fully grown men, and we buying these consoles. So I don't want to put it on the parent, to say, hey, which one do you think they're going to go with, the cheaper one or the more expensive one? Yes, that may play a part, but let's just stick to just gamers as it is.
Okay.
At a $300 price point coming from the Xbox Series S, do you think that could somewhat kind of offshift how many units could have possibly been moved with the PlayStation 5? Now, granted, I know Xbox has not done the best, but do you think that somebody that's just trying to get into next generation, somebody that might not have that $400, and absolutely if they don't have 4, of course they're not going to have 5. Do you think that a person that has $300 just wants to get into next generation, play some games that I don't think it's going to be native 4K with the the Series S. I think it's going to be 1440p, which is still a good resolution, but it's $300, AB. Do you think that could be a factor with Sony getting to that possible 7 million during the course of the fiscal year? Could that be a bit of a roadblock for them?
I think it will cut into some market share for sure. I mean, it would have to. I mean, people do make decisions on the price points. There are some that do that. So it's going to cut into some of the market share. I think as far as it impacting the first fiscal year numbers, I doubt it. And the reason why I say that is because, as we've already mentioned, the people who usually adopt first are your hardcore gamers. Those are going to be your Sony fans who are not going to change. They're just not going to switch. It doesn't make a difference. And I think they have enough of those that will surpass 7 million. I think the people who are going to be Xbox Series S buyers are going to be people who are already Microsoft buyers. They're already PC gamers. That's going to be the majority of those guys. Like you said, it's going to be parents who are looking to get something for their kids, and they're not looking to spend the $500 for it. That probably don't even know the difference between 1440p and 4K. You know,
That's
so
real.
it's going to be that first fiscal year is usually dominated by the diehard fans of whichever particular company. And so I don't really think that the Series S is going to impact that first fiscal year. But now down the line, as the main hardcore gamers have already gotten their systems, yes, I think it's going to give Microsoft more market share because the price point is good. It's undeniable there. So I think that's how it's going to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was looking at it. Excuse me, AB. I was looking at it from, from I guess a long view because it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Sure, indeed.
And during that fiscal year, of course, I think the fiscal year ends in April, I believe. AB.
I think you are right. Yeah.
Yeah, around April. So you figure, like you said, very good points, man, about the core base. They're going to pick up these consoles. They're already sold out. Even Xbox, Aaron Greenberg said that they did much better than they were expecting. Now, if you putting 4 or 5 consoles in the store, I don't know how high your bar is of success, but we'll leave that alone. But with that being said, though, with it being over the course of time, I truly think, and this is my hope, AB, sticking with the sales numbers, but just slightly switching the topic just a little bit, with the console race, right? Do you think that this time out, seeing the moves that Microsoft is making, knowing that the Xbox Series X, it is the more powerful console, and I'm only bringing that up, AB, because power, it doesn't matter if the games aren't there. That's been proven with the Xbox One X. It was the more powerful console, but they did not have the software to show it off. So even though it's the more powerful console, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to win based off of that. But with the moves that you've been seeing Microsoft make lately, with that big acquisition of Bethesda, do you think this time out, and I think it will, but I want to ask you, do you think it'll be more of a competitive race this time out? Because they say the first person, well, not the first person, but the first company to 10 million wins. After whoever gets to that 10 million first, they usually win that console generation. So with that being said, AB, do you think this time it's going to be a more closely run race between Sony and Microsoft?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Microsoft is doing a much, much better job. As I even talked to you before off of the podcast, if there was a most improved player award in this gaming arena, it would have to go to Microsoft. I mean, they've made better decisions. Their marketing, the way they come about leaving the last generation going into this one, they put themselves in a better position to be appealing to the consumer base. With that being said, it's an interesting position that they put themselves in as well, because while the marketing, the way that messaging is going, the acquisition is great, but Microsoft has also kind of undercut themselves on the hardware console side because they've positioned themselves in too many places. You can get all of their games on. You can play their games from your TV. You can play their games from your Galaxy Note Ultra.
Come on, AB.
a laptop. So it gets to a point where it's like, I don't need your system to play your game, so why am I going to buy it? I already have the PC at home. I already got the phone. I already got Game Pass on my Samsung TV. What's the point? And so that's where it's like, if they would have kept their games exclusive to their platform, oh man, they would have a much, much better opportunity to really compete in this race. But because it's everywhere, man, I don't.
Oh man, AB.
They undercut themselves, man.
Oh man, so you think that, brother, because they're on tablets, like you said, you play it on the Samsung TV. That was a heck of a deal, by the way. I don't know how that's gonna go, in the long run, but
it's gonna be wild, man.
It's gonna be interesting. So you think because of that the console is basically taking a back seat. Microsoft is like, we don't even really care, even though they have come out and said we don't care if we sell the console. But I want to believe, AB, that they have to care, man. They put some R&D into it. They spent millions of dollars. I would think that this is how I look at it, right, AB? And I'm going to try to take off my Xbox fan cap for a minute. I'm going to try to take it off. But the way I look at it, AB, I was not a fan of the way that Microsoft had made their games non-exclusives, putting them on PC day and date, and then having games on PC not be on the console day and date. I still have a major problem with that, being a console owner of the Xbox brand. But I think that it is interesting, AB. I do think that with them, this is how I feel about it, AB. I think that this is something that Microsoft, and trust me, I'm not a CEO. I ain't really in the business and all of that. So I'm just up here.
Neither am I.
I'm spitballing right now, brother. I'm just throwing stuff out there. But I think that the landscape, nobody being honest, with themselves would ever say that the Xbox brand is anywhere near as big as the PlayStation brand. When it comes to worldwide appeal, the PlayStation has it hands down, and they sell in much more markets than Xbox has ever done, right? Mm-hmm. So what I think is Microsoft, they have just found a different way. Like over in Japan, they have never caught on. In Japan. Right. Never. I think during the 360 era, they might have had 1 month where they won NPDs, and that was because during the 360 era, they had so many RPGs. They had Blue Dragon, Lost Odyssey, and like several other RPG games that helped them to get some kind of, it wasn't even a foothold. It was just like a small step, in that market. Right. But with them being more of a mobile market, I think that Microsoft is looking at it from the perspective of, okay, you don't want the console, but we just want you in the ecosystem. So if we can get you on the tablet, or if we can get you on your phone, then maybe, just maybe, because Phil Spencer has said, and no, I don't believe everything that these companies tell us, AB, but I can only go off of the man's word. He said that the best place to actually play the games would be on the console. That would be the best performance. That would be, where all of the bells and whistles are, pretty much. So I'm thinking that Microsoft is trying to do it kind of like a gateway kind of situation, where if I can get you right here, then maybe I can get you on the console side. No, it's not guaranteed, but they have a much better chance if they can hook you one way to possibly get you to invest more into the ecosystem, which could lead to them possibly getting an Xbox console.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely could be the play as well, to try to find ways of being able to widen the net, if you will, to bring in people.
Yeah.
And I mean, but this is my question to you then. Now, let's just go to the music space real quick. You'll see how it's going to connect. But let's say you just created this new fire album,
right?
Fire, and you're trying to go platinum.
Absolutely.
My question to you is, do you only make 100,000 copies of this CD?
Oh no! I'm trying to reach for the moon, baby. I'm trying to do more than that. I gotta create more so I can sell more.
Absolutely. But that's the same thing here. Microsoft has only made a very limited number. And the reason being is because they're not trying to sell a whole lot of consoles. But now, and this is the thing, when the music industry shifted and people started realizing they could go platinum without selling CDs, but they could stream music, then all of a sudden they started selling less physical copies. They started selling less physical copies, started making less physical copies.
Man.
So it's the same thing here, man. They're not concerned with the hardware because they're pushing streaming. They want to be the first gaming Netflix, and now they have their biggest competitor in this Luna streaming service. So they're focused on streaming, man. You'll never see a console in history where they release in this first fiscal period or even on launch day this limited a number of consoles, where stores are getting 6 to 8 consoles.
Yeah, I mean, well, wait a minute, AB. Hold on, brother.
I ain't never seen it, man. I ain't never
Hold
seen it.
on a second, man.
Eight consoles, man.
Oh, man. You know what? I think that was only here in Baltimore, brother. I don't
No.
think
So in New York, they got all the consoles.
man, they had like 80 of them up there. Nah, but I think what it is, AB. I mean, that's a good point. I can see where you're going. I like the way you kind of brung that full circle. I got you. But
Right.
I think that, with COVID and I understand Sony, yes, they were able to bring out way more. I get it, man. I get it. But I cannot sit here, AB, and just imagine, at least maybe I don't want to imagine is the problem, that Microsoft would walk away from a console space. I know that they haven't been able to really sock it to Sony this generation, but last generation they had a heck of a run at it. I understand we got to talk about the here and now. I get that,
Right.
but I'm only bringing that up to say that they can be competitive with
Oh,
Sony.
yeah.
As long as they, are coming out with the games that people want to play and the services. And this is the other thing I want to bring out too, AB. I want to mention at least, is the Game Pass. You don't think that that's going to have some kind of impact on people that are going to go over to the PlayStation side versus Xbox? Now, I get, once again, at the end of the day, AB, me and you both know it's about the games, brother. That's all that matters at the end of the day. People will, like you said, they'll come up with money for what they want to buy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. But with prices of games going up to $70, brother. I mean, look, listen, we talked about this too, AB. I mean, it's understandable why they're going up that much. But just to stay on track so I don't veer off too much, brother.
Right.
With that being said, with Game Pass and you paying a subscription fee of $10 to $15 a month for 100 plus games, and they have EA access in there as well, you don't think that that's gonna make people want to get the console a little bit more, man, at $300, AB?
Yeah, man, that's a deal. I mean, I cannot deny that. People are going to be intrigued, and this is what's going to happen this generation more so than anything. I think it's going to make people at least second guess their decisions. They're going to take more time to think about it because of the value proposition that Microsoft has put out. Beforehand, it was, for the most part, the majority of the world, if I only can buy one system, I'm getting a PS4, and that's just how it went down.
Right.
This time around, it's a situation where people are going to think, and they're going to say, "Man, this system is $300, and Game Pass is, $15 a month or whatever it is," and that's going to make them think. But this is the thing that this is the reason why I don't think that Game Pass is going to have as much of a detracting thing from Sony.
Okay.
Reason being is because until you have a game on Game Pass that is on the level of or beats God of War, Last of Us,
I knew you were going to say that.
Uncharted, it doesn't. That's the part of it
that's fair, man. That's fair
for Microsoft to steal away that customer base. Because no matter how many games I can play 10,000 games on Game Pass, but none of them are God of War. Not a single one of them. None of them are Tsushima. Just the exclusives on Sony. There's nothing you can do with it.
That's a strong point, AB. You know what? I can't even combat that. I'm going to give you that one, brother. I'm going to give you that. I'm going to give that to you. Because at this point in time, like I said, I cannot say that Microsoft has been the best at having these AAA games that everybody wants to play. So until then, it's going to be hard for them. It's going to be an uphill battle. They are doing a lot of things right. They're giving a lot of bang for the buck, but
for sure.
But at the end, yes, it's always going to come down to, the games and who has the better of the two when it comes down to the games to even make somebody actually want to go out and say, well, you know what? They got some bangers over there. I'm over on Sony's side, but for $300, yeah, I mean, I'll give them a run. But yeah, you know, I think it's going to be an interesting race, man. And I'm looking forward to it, brother. They were throwing shots earlier this week, you know.
Yes, they were.
Yes, sir.
Bang, bang.
Yes, that's right. Bang, bang for sure, brother. You know, it was great to see, you know, kind of getting that Nintendo versus Sega vibe, but just a little bit, you know, but it will be absolutely interesting, AB, to see if they do get to the 7 million, the 7+ million consoles sold by the fiscal year. But, AB, man, I want to switch to another hot topic over on the Sony side, brother. Now, this one was burning up. We had alluded to it a little earlier, but let me get the quote right here. It's PlayStation 5's backwards compatibility. Now, Sony is reporting that the, quote, overwhelming majority of over 4,000 PlayStation 4 games will be compatible. Now, however, this is the thing, AB, Sony did say, although many PlayStation 4 games are playable on PlayStation 5 consoles, listen to this, brother. This gives me a little bit of pause, brother.
Okay, I'm all ears.
But all right, they said some functionalities that were available on the PlayStation 4 console may not be available on PlayStation 5's consoles. Now, in addition, some PlayStation 4 games may exhibit errors or unexpected behavior when played on PlayStation 5 consoles. Now, I don't want to put too much on you, AB. How do you feel about that? Let's just get started right there. Here you have, and this is one thing that I've said, AB, and me and you both know this, is that competition is what we all should want from everybody, whether it's Nintendo, Sony, or Microsoft. And here you had, I brought up Jim Ryan a little earlier. That dude said, who gives a heck about backwards compatibility? Right. And all of a sudden, when they saw what Microsoft was doing, they're going back to the original PlayStation, original Xbox, the 360, the One, and now the Series X. After they saw that, I guess they said, hold on, wait a second. Because if you remember, AB, back when, what's his name? The engineer over on Sony's side, Mark Cerny. When he was on stage, he said that it would be the top 100 PlayStation 4 games that were going to be backwards compatible. All of a sudden, and I give them credit, I give Sony credit, they must have scrambled, and now they got 4,000 plus games that the majority, I'll say, of 4,000 games that are going to be compatible. But when you hear things like this, AB, some functionality that was available on the PlayStation 4 may not be available on the PlayStation 5 console. Does that give you a little bit of pause of, you know, how many games will really be backwards compatible? And I mean, just come off clean.
Well, I would have to see, this thing about is this. All right. My perspective is a little bit different from most. So for me, I already anticipated this being the case, you know, being into tech. So just based on the controller alone was automatically going to put it to be a situation where some functionality wouldn't cross over.
Whoa, wait, wait. Oh, go ahead, AB. Go ahead. I'll ask you in a second. My bad. Go ahead, brother.
Okay,
my bad.
But just like for the sake of argument, so Killzone that came out on PS4, it really utilized the DualShock 4 controller. It had the touchpad with the little the secondary robot thing that you could shoot or whatnot, and you use that touchpad a lot to do certain things within the game. The DualShock doesn't have that same controller situation.
Yeah.
So that right there, that feature is going to be an issue when you try to do the backwards compatibility thing. So, yeah, I mean, I anticipated there would be some things that would not cross over. Even with the PlayStation VR, there's going to be certain things that is not going to function the same way due to the fact that you have to have a whole new camera to be used. So I think that's primarily the things that's going to be talked about as far as not being carried over. But I think for the most part, most things should function as normal because I don't think a lot of companies really utilize that DualShock 4 with all of its features like that.
Nah,
So
I don't think so. That the touchpad thing that kind of went kind of unnoticed after a while.
yeah, yeah,
Well, I mean, man, it's just interesting to me, brother, that man, it's these different. You know what this reminds me of, AB? Because I'm trying to gather my thoughts here, brother. But with these this limited functionality, some games coming up with errors and just not working correctly. This kind of reminds me of the time when Sony had finally made it so you could change your name, but they were talking about it may be problems when you try to change it, that certain things might not pop, like trophies, or some features might be left off. So it seems like to me that the backwards compatibility, and I think we talked about this, AB, I'm not sure, but backwards compatibility wasn't really a big thing on Sony's list. It seems to me,
you're right.
Yeah, it just seems like to me, and I commend them for it because I mean they heard the rumblings from people, and that's what good companies do, at least for their fan base. They listen to what they're saying and they try to shift, as the situation, kind of plays itself out. So I do commend them for doing this, but I mean, I just wonder how much this is going to impact people from playing maybe certain games that they had. And I know for you, AB, I know you said that, you, like a lot of people, and it's absolutely understandable, you actually, buy these new consoles for new games. So you're not really tripping off of playing anything old. But I think that, for those people that may have been late to the party of the PlayStation 4 and they jumped on with the 5. I just think, some people, knowing the games that we've gotten from Sony this generation, that the average person would be like, man, I sure would like to play The Last of Us Part 2 or God of War or Horizon Zero Dawn. I mean, so many just bangers that Sony has brought out this generation. Spider-Man, Spider-Man, they might be all right with that if they pay $70, but it is what it is. But my only thing is, with that being said, for people that may find, it's not a maybe in it, they're gonna find out that it's backwards compatible. Do you think that this could be because, people are always mad, AB. They're trying to find anything to be angry about, this fake outrage that I just don't understand, man. Just wake up mad, I'm mad on vacation, bro. Ain't that what Kanye West said? How you going to be mad on vacation? I mean, golly, we out here to have a good time, But my only point is, do you think, AB, that with this being said, and Sony, they even went as far as to say, even if you were getting DLC for a game, that you may want to make sure that the game is running correctly before you do that. So even though Sony is doing the right thing, they're letting people know, they're not springing it on us like they did with that Spider-Man joint, the Horizon, West or whatever. They're telling us what the situation is going to be. Do you think that this still will be a situation that people are going to be upset about it? They're going to have the outrage and they're going to say Sony isn't doing it the right way. I feel cheated. I feel like they lied to me. You know how this stuff goes, AB. Do you think it's going to be, I guess, basically a PR nightmare might be doing too much, but do you think that it's going to have a negative effect on how people feel about the PlayStation 5?
I mean, you're definitely going to have those people, like you said, is people always looking to find a reason to be upset and angry. You're going to have those. And I think that every company knows whenever they put out a product, you're going to have that in some way or another. But I think for the most part, I think the experience in playing the PlayStation 5 with its new games are going to impress and supersede any issues that people are going to find in playing PlayStation 4 games. And I'm pretty certain that with Sony, all of their first-party stuff is definitely going to play excellently. I'm sure almost every first-party game is going to be in game boost mode. So I don't think it's going to be an issue with, like you said, and that's the primary games that people are buying PlayStation 4 anyway.
Yeah,
so they're buying it for Last of Us. They're playing it for Ghost of Tsushima. They're playing it for Uncharted. They're playing it for God of War. I doubt very seriously if you put in one of those big titles, or even huge third-party titles like Red Dead Redemption 2, I don't think you're going to find an issue with those games. I think you may find some with less popular games or from early on generation of PlayStation 4 games.
Like
But I mean,
year
I
one.
don't think it's going to be a major concern. Yeah, I don't think so.
I got you, man. But let's just say, AB, because I gotta play an advocate here, brother. I
Yeah.
got to. Let's say it is some problems with the first party games. Let's say Days Gone. Well, Days Gone is pretty okay. That's in that classics joint, so let's not use that.
Right.
Let's say Uncharted. Well, that might be in there too. God dog, I'm running out of ammo here, AB.
Yeah.
Let's just say, man, let's just say one of their first party games, and I know it's a cheap shot because I'm not coming up with one that
Right.
isn't actually on the list, but let's just say it does happen, AB. One of their first party games, it doesn't work correctly with the backwards compatibility. It is errors. It is problems.
Yeah.
Do you think that could be an impact? Because
I don't know about when you say impact. Do you mean impact in reference to
negatively.
console sales? Or?
No. I just mean it's strictly PR, brother. I just mean
Okay.
PR because because that's the thing, AB.
It will.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely will. That's for sure. You're gonna have a Digital Foundry.
Yeah.
You're gonna have somebody that's gonna be out here. You're gonna maybe have Push Square, because I mean it's a hot take.
Right.
It's media, it's media. So that is a new article. That's some new content to talk about. You're gonna have somebody on another podcast that's Xbox centric. That would definitely make the media cycle for sure.
Oh man, it keeps the console war going, brother. I love
Absolutely.
it. I love it, man. I love the console war, man. I ain't even afraid to say it, man. Competition
man.
is great.
It's good. It's good for gamers, man.
Absolutely, brother. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how this all unfolds, AB. But I don't want to be all negative here. I do want to say this, AB. We're still getting the different features of the PlayStation 5, right? Everything is, being unveiled slowly. At a kind of slow pace. But in this Ars Technica article, AB, I found that HDR on the PlayStation 5 is automatically switched on for the PlayStation 5 console. So that's one thing you don't have to worry about. Now, the reason why I bring that up is because since it is going to be switched on automatically, it's nothing that the game player is going to have to do to, turn it on or off. They were saying that they don't know if that's actually going to be included in the PlayStation 4 games. They're not sure if that's going to be a feature or not.
Right.
So it'll be interesting because on the Microsoft side, once again, it's a positive. On the Xbox side, they're giving these upgrades for free, and they work. It actually works.
Right.
It's taking it to 60 frames. But I think, to be fair though, AB, now correct me if I'm wrong, because I want to try to make it even. I'm not trying to say one is worse than the other, but Ghost of Tsushima, some news came out about that earlier this week, right, AB? I think something to do with it. It would be running at 60 frames per second.
I think so, yeah.
On the PlayStation 5. I can't 100% confirm that. I'm not 100% sure, but I thought that was some of the news that came out with that. So if that is the case with the backwards compatibility, if it's running at 60 frames per second, that's pretty awesome, man. That's great. But once again, I don't think if Microsoft was taking a different approach to the backwards compatibility, I don't think Sony would have scrambled. Well, I don't know if they scrambled, AB, but let's just say changed the messaging when it came down to actually doing these kind of features on the backwards compatible side of the game. So, I mean, it'll be very interesting. I'm very excited to see how these games run on the PlayStation 5 coming from the PlayStation 4, seeing the enhancements that they're going to have. So, yeah, it should be a good time, AB, real good time, man.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that I'm definitely a fan of Sony and what they bring to the table. But like I said, man, this is the best I've seen them in. And I know they say that 360 was their heyday. That was the pinnacle of where they were. But I actually think that this year will be much better for them overall. And I'm not saying that to mean that they're going to put out better games than they did on 360.
Right.
But just from a a market share position, just seeing how they attack the market, the willingness to actually compete.
Right.
I think
Absolutely.
this is going to be the pinnacle for them. This is going to be the best that they have done. And so I'm looking forward to it. And I think that Microsoft having a better showing this year is only going to continue to push Sony forward. So it's kind of, I have like an ulterior motive for Microsoft to do better. But I think they're doing well. I mean, Sony's not resting on their laurels. We look at just the amount of R&D they've done just for something that seems so small as the liquid metal cooling for the CPU. I mean, these jokers took 2 years just for that. So I think that all of them, they're doing good. I mean, Sony has closed out this generation as if the generation just started.
It's been amazing, man. It's been incredible. Incredible.
So, and I like and Microsoft is taking this new generation as if it's their first. Like they're really trying to do as much as they possibly can. So I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm a gamer. While I may have my personal favorites, but I'm a gamer. And if you put out a good game, I don't care what hardware is on, I'm gonna like it. So
absolutely, that's very well said, AB. Hey, brother, we may as well move into this last topic that we had, brother. We'll kind of make it a little fast, but it was some big news though, man. GameStop and Microsoft are partnering up, man. Pretty interesting. Now, as it stands, AB, I want to read this off. I got this from GeekWire. As it stands, GameStop and Microsoft have a multi-year partnership, and this is one of the big things surrounding this partnership is GameStop will now be an authorized dealer for Xbox All Access for that program, which basically, you know what it is, AB. You get the console, you get 2 years of Game Pass Ultimate, and you don't have to pay anything immediately up front. No cost, no immediate cost. Now, I do want to read you something here, AB. This is the direct quote from Phil Spencer. He said, for many years, GameStop has been a strong go-to market partner for our gaming products, and we are excited about continuing and evolving that relationship for the launch of the Xbox Series X/X. GameStop's extensive store base focus on digital transformation in an omni-channel environment and expert gamer associates, I don't know about that, remain an important part of our gaming ecosystem, and we're pleased to elevate our partnership. End of quote. So this situation, AB, now they and that wasn't a shot at every GameStop employee. Some of them are really cool, but you go into some of them, AB, and they just, man, PlayStation.
Yeah, that's true.
But it is what it is, man. I digress. No disrespect to anybody out there though that works for GameStop, but AB, this is a very interesting situation, brother, because the way that they were explaining it, now I could be wrong, AB, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, brother, but the gist of this situation, outside of that amazing thing that they're going to be a all access authorized dealer, that's crazy, but they're going to basically be upgrading their computer systems where they're going to be able to walk around with Surface Pros and actually be able to interact with the customer on the go or walking around the store as opposed to being behind the counter. And they were saying that it's this guy named Gaming Forte that I listened to, and he's actually a GameStop employee. It was definitely not a shot to him. He's a very cool dude. I like him a lot. He was saying that basically with this, they would be able to walk around the store. They would be able to show them trailers on the tablet, and just give them a more interactive experience. So we know that over the years, AB, GameStop, they've been going down, brother. They haven't been doing too well. They've been a little sick, brother.
Anemic.
Absolutely, they've been freezing out here, man. Been cold because digital has just been a killer to their business model. But with this partnership, AB, how do you feel about it, man? Because I'll tell you this. I think that this is going to make the console race even more interesting, AB, because for people that still go to GameStop, and it's a lot of people that do, you know that they are going to be pushing Xbox everything since they have a partnership. Now, I understand they're in the business of selling. That's what they're supposed to do. They want to sell everything. It only makes sense. But this partnership does give them a little bit more incentive to be a little bit more Xbox centric, whether they want to admit it or not. It's business. You sign a contract with somebody, you know certain things are going to be expected of you. So with that being said, AB, with them being an authorized dealer of this all access program, meaning that people can literally, after that holiday rush that we were talking about, AB, after all of the dust settles and everything is back to normal, nobody's like trying to rush out to be the first to get it. Once that dust settles and you can go into a GameStop and you might not have any money to be able to walk in there and possibly, because I don't know if they're going to be checking credit or what, you know, that's variable. It can vary. But being able to have the possibility of walking into a GameStop to get a Series X $500 console and not have to pay a thing, but pay I might be wrong on this, but I think $27.99 a month with, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, with Game Pass, 2 years of it, ultimate. You're walking out the store with 100+ games at $28 a month. Do you think that with that situation, AB, this puts Sony, and I'm not going to say it's not going to cripple them, not at all, but do you think that's going to make the race even that much more tighter? Because GameStop, these people are going to be able to walk in or get a $300 console for like $24.99 a month. Yeah. Do you think that's going to be a bit impactful when it comes to this console race, brother?
This is probably one of the most interesting topics of this this right here. And this is the thing. I'm going to try to keep this as concise as possible, but this is multi-layered.
Okay.
So the first part of this is more than likely they will be running credit, I'm sure, because this is a finance leasing program that they're doing.
Exactly.
So they're going to be running credit more than likely. I'll be extremely surprised if they didn't. So this is the thing. So if a person typically has the credit score and has the available credit line, they're not going to have a need for this all access. So most people that have the credit and the money available is just going to use their credit card because the interest rate is going to be lower on your credit card more than likely than it is all access.
No, AB, they said 0%, brother. That's what I'm hearing. 0%, brother. No interest.
If they do no interest on it in 2 years, that is interesting. If they do 0%, the interesting part about that is this. People that usually have the credit would use their own credit to do it. People who don't have the credit limit, I mean, they don't have the funds to begin with.
Right.
So if you don't have the funds to begin with, I don't know if it behooves a person to then go and use go and get an extra. But they may. But that's an interesting position to be put in. But zero interest is a very lucrative value proposition to put up there.
Yeah. Now I do want to say just real quick, AB. That's what I heard. I don't know if it's 100% confirmed yet, AB. But that's what that's what I've heard. Anyway, go ahead. My bad, AB.
So if they do that, that makes the value proposition even sweeter. But like I said, most people are going to be using their own credit card or using cash to get it. If you don't have cash or the credit limit and you're using this as your way, an opportunity to get it, that's a poor decision. But some may do it. I just don't know how many people are willing to do it for a video game system. The other part that's interesting to me is that kind of sort of how I said Microsoft is cutting themselves with having their games on all these platforms. This deal with Microsoft and GameStop is kind of undercutting GameStop. As we know, GameStop didn't really push Microsoft stuff because they never wanted to go into a digital arena because it would keep people from buying games and content from their store. So now if they push the Xbox, and let's say the majority of people get the Series S, like we kind of think a lot of people are going to do, that means that is automatically taking business from GameStop in the long run. And it goes and puts your customer base directly back to Microsoft. So GameStop is essentially selling to cut themselves out of the picture.
Well, I do want to point out once again, AB, that Phil Spencer, he did say that the store-based focus is on a digital transformation in an omni-channel environment. So Phil Spencer, he is acknowledging that, yes, it's a digital transformation. Now, what that means, AB, I don't know. I mean, does that mean that they'll be selling the digital codes of the games in the store? I don't know, but I'm taking it that'd
be crazy, man.
It would be. I don't.
At that point, my question would be, who's going to have a Series S at their house and then can just digitally download the game from their TV, but decide to put clothes on and get in the car?
You know what, AB? I got a theory, brother. Now, this is once again, I'm freestyling this one, brother. I ain't give this no thought. But what if? And it's a big what if, brother. I doubt that it happens, but let's just say that, okay, this Series S, the digital model. Let's say that somewhere, and once again, this is a crazy idea, but I'm going to just throw it out there, man. What if GameStop, now this isn't going to happen every time, but let's just say that they have a discount on the digital games, and it might not be discounted on the Xbox store. Now, I know that sounds just like ridiculous. Like, come on, Kiaun, you could do a little better than that. But Microsoft, they have to know that GameStop has to get something out of this deal. They have to. Right. So maybe that could be a bargaining chip. I don't know, AB. I'm just trying to think outside of the box of what could be possible, to make this partnership work, because you're right. Essentially, they're kind of speeding up their demise, as it were, to push the digital market. But if Microsoft is giving them some kind of incentive to do that and they still win on the back end, how they win on the back end, we don't know. But it could make for an interesting situation, because I'm sure that both companies are coming out of this with something in their pockets at the end of the day.
They got to. Yeah, it has to be something, because, it would make no sense to undercut your own self, in the long run from the GameStop perspective. But, I do like the fact that, once again, Microsoft is doing things on their home territory to incentivize their customer base here. So it only makes sense. And but I'm just interested in seeing how this plays out for both the customer and as well as GameStop's, because from Microsoft's end, it's a win all the way across the board.
Yes, it is.
Because essentially, Microsoft has basically acquired a new customer, which is the GameStop stores, by putting their POS system and putting their computers in their stores. So Microsoft wins on that front. Then they have GameStop pushing and selling their hardware, so Microsoft wins again. So it's just trying to figure, at what point does GameStop win, and how will the consumer win from this situation? So it's going to be cool to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I'm very, very interested, AB. I can't wait to see what happens, man. And to your point, about the all access, AB, I'm gonna be honest, man. I think that it'll be a nice amount of people that are going to sign up for that. I do. Because even me, and trust me, listeners, I'm not at all boasting. I'm broke. Okay, I'm broke. Just remember that I'm broke.
My hand's in the cast right now.
Right. But even myself, being able to buy the console flat out, $500, I could pay it in cash, but thinking about it, AB, not having to put anything down, and it's just $28 a month for an X, and it comes with everything you need. and it's no interest, and you can pay it off early. That's what I heard. You can pay it off early.
Okay.
It's not a certain set time. That's what I heard. Once again, we had to get more details, AB. I don't want to say that that's fact, but that's what is being said, that you could pay it off early. But even for me, I'm like, man, I might be able to save $500. Man, let me go and get that, man. You know, exactly. Yeah. I could take that $500 that I was going to spend and maybe get a couple of games that I might have been interested in. Or, I know this ain't going to sound crazy because I get, everything. I'm blessed to be able to get everything. But take that money and get a PlayStation 5, man. Just get
Come on home, brother.
Exactly.
Come on home. Welcome home.
And, just get the Series X and walk out the store with both of them, man.
That's a fine point.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so
that zero interest is a major key. Like I said, I didn't know about that, but if you're gonna provide the console no money out of pocket and then not charge me any interest, that's the only thing that's going to potentially hinder that situation. Like we said, it's more than likely going to be a credit check involved.
Exactly.
So you have to figure what the base credit score has to be, but if it's not too high, they should have a pretty good number of people that's eligible. So,
yeah, definitely, man. AB, brother, this has been fantastic, man.
It has, man. I appreciate you, my brother.
Hey, man, I appreciate you too, very, very much so, brother. I guess, listeners, this is getting ready to wrap it up. Man, truly, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for all of the support. And, spreading the word about the Analog Circle podcast. And, AB, brother, before we get out of here, man, is there anything that you would want to, tell the people listening at home or in their cars or on vacation? Is there anything you would want to tell them before we wrap up, brother?
Just thank you for having me, man. This has been a privilege and an honor just to be here, to be able to talk with my man Keys and to have a listening audience. This has been amazing. Just continue to follow and support the Analog Circle. My brother Keys that's a great dude, man. I appreciate all your support and energy that you put into the podcast. For anybody that's on PS4 or 5, if you want to reach out on there, my PSN name is First and Foremost. So FIRSTAND, the number 4 MOST. So First and Foremost. So reach out and then let's get into this gaming because I'm excited for this PS5. So hopefully everybody else is safe. Make sure y'all using your hand sanitizer, get your mask on,
no doubt,
and keep doing what y'all doing.
Absolutely, man. Hey, AB, once again, it's been a pleasure, brother. Thank you again for being here, and thank you so much for all of the support over the years, brother. It's greatly appreciated. But listeners out there, if you guys want to comment, if you have some thoughts, you have some ideas, or you want to get some things off of your chest, you know how to do it. And if you don't, you can do it 2 different ways. Either call in at 443-216-9934 and let your voice be heard. Or you can email the show, and the email address is theanalogcirclepodcast@gmail.com. I was your host, Kiaun Mitchell, here accompanied with my good friend AB. Thank you guys again for listening, and thank you guys for all of the support. And with that being said, you guys take care and have a good one. Bye-bye.